Today, the Bruce Highway reopens after a deadly bus crash in North Queensland. 3 dead, 2 fighting for life. Developing now, the search for a hit-and-run driver, a man dead in Sydney's west. Happening today, Fatima Payman ready to fight back, the exiled senator suspended from Labor caucus. Under pressure, President Biden's family meeting, his future in office up for discussion. And pack your bags, more than 1 million airfares going on sale today, Monday the 1st of July, 2024. Good morning and welcome to Today Early News. First this morning, new developments in that deadly bus crash in North Queensland. The Bruce Highway reopened overnight after a coach collided with a car towing a caravan south of Townsville. 3 passengers were killed, 2 are right now fighting for life.
Embedded in the front of this Greyhound bus, a caravan flung from the four-wheel drive towing it during a high-speed collision on Queensland's busiest road, the Bruce Highway.
There's been a collision between those 2 vehicles, very significant impact and very significant consequences.
Of the 33 on board the bus, 3 women died on impact. Several others treated in local hospitals, 2 fighting for their lives. The remaining passengers triaged on the roadside, rescue helicopters flying in extra hands, then taking the most critical patients to specialist care.
A crash of this nature involving this many people is a very significant and very tragic incident for us.
All staff at emergency rooms in Townsville and Ayr were called into work as members of the public were told to stay away unless absolutely necessary. The crash happened on a narrow 2-lane stretch of the Bruce Highway between Townsville and Bowen, 8 kilometres from the town of Gumloo.
The crash is under investigation. We haven't determined any factors that have contributed to the crash at this stage.
In a statement, the Greyhound CEO says his deepest sympathies go out to those involved and their families, confirming the company is working closely with authorities to assist them with their investigation.
Armed with firearms and machetes, a group of 4 men have allegedly attacked a 61-year-old man inside his southwest Sydney home. Police say the group injured the Narellan man's body and legs before taking off around 11 p.m. with his belongings. They are right now on the run. Police are searching for a driver this morning following an alleged hit-and-run in Western Sydney earlier this morning, which killed a male pedestrian in his late 70s. A crime scene has been established. Police believe the man was hit by a black sedan travelling eastbound. A unit on the Gold Coast has been destroyed in a fire this morning, with 1 person believed injured in the Varsity Lakes blaze. Investigations into the cause of the fire is ongoing. It's been a chaotic night on Gold Coast roads, with 2 cars crashing and rolling in separate locations, 15 minutes away from each other. The first in Ormo, where the driver lost control of his vehicle and collided with 2 trees. The second, an hour later in Yatala, a car crashing down a ditch and landing upside down. No one was injured in either incident. A runaway ute has rolled down the wrong way on an Adelaide freeway with no driver at the wheel. Exclusive 9 News video filming what were the final moments of a car chase through the city's northern suburbs.
Oh God!
And the car is still running.
Huh? Yeah, careful, that car is still on.
The car is still moving, yeah.
He left it running. The car's still moving,
yeah.
Oh, the driver just ran away. Oh my God, oh my goodness.
Police pursued the allegedly stolen ute for 40 minutes. A 28-year-old man has been charged and will face court today. TikTok's algorithm is intensifying users' eating disorders by bombarding them with extreme appearance-related videos, according to damning new research. Melbourne University Professor Scott Griffiths saying confronting content is pushed to new users in under 3 minutes of using the app. US President Joe Biden has retreated to Camp David following his disastrous debate, with pressure now mounting for him to step down from his campaign. US correspondent Alison Petrowski joins us in our LA studio. Ali, good morning. He's surrounded by his entire family.
Yeah, good morning to you, Alex. And look, the White House is insistent that this was a planned event. This was something that had been organised long before his disastrous debate performance on Friday. But President Biden arrived at Camp David last night with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. He is surrounded there by his children and all of his grandchildren. Now, a family photo is being taken. That is the reason why they are there, for a family portrait. We understand it will be taken by celebrity photographer Annie Leibovitz. But we do understand, Alex, that he will take this opportunity to take stock with his family and discuss his future re-election campaign. Those in his orbit say the president felt humiliated after his debate performance against Donald Trump, that first presidential debate on Friday, that senior Democrats within the party are expressing that they are panicked. But look, the general consensus is, Alex, that the only person that Joe Biden will truly listen to is his wife, Dr. Jill Biden. And she has been by his side ever since he left that debate stage. For the past 48 hours, they've been crisscrossing the Northeast, going from New York to New Jersey for multiple fundraisers, meeting with many, many people, trying to reassure donors, Alex, that he's got what it takes, that his hands are still firmly on the wheel, and also to prove that they can still bring in big campaign funds, which he appears to be doing. The Biden campaign says that so far he's managed to bring in more than $40 million despite that disastrous debate performance on Friday, Alex.
Before, his family might think one thing. What do voters think, though, Ali?
Well, it's always difficult to get in the minds of some 350 plus million voters, Alex, but we do have some new polling out from CBS this morning, and look, it is concerning for Joe Biden. Let's bring up those polling figures. This is with registered voters. 72% of them believe that Joe Biden does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. Hugely concerning numbers. Donald Trump's figures aren't too crash hot either, Alex, 49%, but still markedly better than the incumbent. Publicly, Democrats are trying to play this down despite what they are saying behind closed doors. This morning, we've seen former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a senior Democrat, do the rounds on US television, and she was asked how she saw her party's tactics moving forward. Let's hear from her.
Joe Biden getting up and taking the ball over the finish line. Something else could be chaotic. I don't say that to say that could never happen, because it might. I don't mean now. I mean in history it could. But understand this. This is really important for people to understand. Joe Biden has won the nomination. He has won the nomination.
The senior Democrats are adamant that changing the nomination now would just be a highway to a Trump victory. But look, Alex, it is hard to see how keeping Joe Biden in there would lead to a different result. Yeah,
we live in interesting times. Ali, thank you. A hurricane in the West Indies has been upgraded to a Category 4, the first time ever a system this powerful has been recorded in June. It's the first big hurricane of the season, with a major warning in place for the Windward Islands. Police have been shot at during a pursuit in the US. Dashcam video from inside a patrol car shows the shooter open a door before opening fire during the Texas chase. The pursuit ended with a shootout, officers managing to take down the man, who's now in a critical but stable condition in hospital. A mega cross-sea link has officially opened to drivers in China. The 24-kilometre bridge connects the two cities of Shenzhen and Zhongshan and spans across the Pearl River Delta. The project took 7 years to build and also consists of an undersea tunnel. Today's top sports stories: the Roosters have tamed the
That was, horribly disappointing to let that try in at the end. Like, it was, because we've been working so hard to get down to single figures, and zeros are something that you chase. So we have got more variation in attack, and then we're also trying to be really steely in defence. If you match the two up, then you're going to be a threat.
Hawthorn has continued its charge into finals contention with the team's biggest victory of the year, dismantling West Coast by 64 points at Optus Stadium. It's also the Hawks' first win away from its Melbourne and Tasmanian bases this season, and extends their unbeaten run to 5 matches.
Certainly in my coaching time, we've never been in a position like this where every game really matters for your season. And so that continues to be a challenge for us, but the boys are thriving under that environment at the moment. I still watch the best teams in the competition and think, they're a bit ahead of us right at this moment.
The Hawks will be sweating on the fitness of captain James Sicily after he dislocated his shoulder late in the third quarter in a marking contest. Let's have a look at the weather across the country. Starting in Brisbane, a rainy day ahead and a top of 21 degrees. 15 and a shower or two develop in Sydney. Melbourne, 12 the top and a possible shower. 13, partly cloudy in Adelaide. And in Perth, mostly sunny and 20 degrees. Straight ahead on Today Early News, new details on that deadly bus crash in North Queensland. Plus better protection for victims of domestic violence. New laws enforced today. And voters head to the polls in France, and it's not looking good for the president. Right across Australia, this is Today Early News on 9, and when you go, we are streaming on 9 now. Two people are fighting for life this morning in a North Queensland hospital following an horrific bus crash which killed 3 passengers. Travelling in a 100-kilometre zone on the Bruce Highway, 7 people were rushed to Townsville Hospital after the bus collided with a car towing a caravan.
There's been a collision between those two vehicles, very significant impact and very significant consequences. A crash of this nature involving this many people is a very significant and very tragic incident for us. The crash is under investigation. We haven't determined any factors that have contributed to the crash at this stage.
The highway reopened at midnight. Police now investigating what caused that crash. More protection for victim survivors will come into place in New South Wales today as the state overhauls its domestic violence laws. Coercive control will be criminalised, which includes financial abuse, threats against loved ones, tracking someone's movements or isolating them from family and friends. If found guilty, perpetrators can face up to 7 years in prison. Stronger bail conditions will also be in place. Those charged with serious offences required to show why they should not be detained. And if this story has raised any concerns for you, help is available at 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Labor Senator Fatima Payman is expected to speak out today after being indefinitely suspended from caucus after defiantly crossing the floor. Live to Nine's federal politics reporter, Claudia Vodoljak. Claudia, good morning to you. The Prime Minister was forced to step in here.
That's right, Alex. Good morning to you. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese summoned the West Australian Senator to the Lodge in Canberra yesterday afternoon. The crisis talks, which went for around 40 minutes, were held after Fatima Payman vowed to cross the floor again in support of a motion recognising the state of Palestine, a move she made last week. The idea of another act of defiance from the first-term Labor Senator, leaving the PM to indefinitely suspend her from Labor caucus meetings and processes. Ms Payman has been told she can return to the party room if she respects Labor's rules of solidarity. And while we wait for her to respond publicly today, she has previously said she doesn't intend to leave the party. Alex.
Claudia, thank you. Happening now, the French are heading to the polls in the biggest turnout for an election in 40 years. Let's bring in Nine's Europe correspondent, Brett McLeod. Brett, good morning to you. The first results are in and it's bad news for President Macron.
He made a huge gamble a few weeks ago, Alex, when he decided to call a snap poll years before one was needed in a bid to head off the rise of the far right. And it's failed, certainly on this first round of voting anyway. Now, France has had its biggest turnout for decades, as you said. 67% voted in a country where, of course, it's not compulsory to vote. A national rally, Marine Le Pen's party, has got 34% of the vote on the first exit poll. The New Popular Front, which is a left-wing party, got 28% of the vote, and Ensemble Alliance, which is Emmanuel Macron's own party, 20% of the vote. So this is just the first round. The next vote takes place in a week's time and only the top candidates go through. So it's far from certain which way it's going to fall. The left-wing parties are trying to form a bloc to stop the right from getting more votes in, more seats in Parliament. But all will be revealed, and the young man who's leading the National Rally, Jordan Bardella, could become the next Prime Minister at the age of 28, which would lead to a very uncomfortable arrangement for President Emmanuel Macron. Alex?
All right, Brett, thank you. A Chinese rocket has crashed after an accidental launch. The Tianlong 3 spacecraft detached during a launch pad test, blasting off before it returned to the ground, exploding on a mountainside. company, Space Pioneer, says it was due to a structural failure with the onboard computer automatically shut down after liftoff. Let's look at the markets on Wall Street. The Dow Jones is down at 45 points. The S&P 500 also in the red. At home, the All Ords closed up yesterday at 11 points. In London, the FTSE ended up in the red. Commodities, gold's at $2,326 an ounce. Silver, $29 an ounce. Oil, $85 a barrel. Coming up in Today Early News, Tigers coach Benji plus the Blues flex their muscles in a brutal third quarter against the Tigers. And it might be time for a holiday with over 1 million flights now on offer. Welcome back to Today Early News. Our top stories direct from the 9 newsroom this Monday. 3 women have been killed and another 2 people fighting for life after a crash between a tourist bus and a car towing a caravan in North Queensland. A man's been killed in a suspected hit and run in Western Sydney. Police now hunting for the driver. And Labor Senator Fatima Payman is gearing up to respond today after being indefinitely suspended for crossing the floor in a motion to recognise the state of Palestine. Sport and West Tigers coach Benji.
To be honest, I'm a little bit confused about them. Dewey's one in particular. I don't know what he's supposed to do. Sol puts on a good shot and sends him backwards, and Dewey's just underneath him. So I thought that was a bit harsh. Obviously, the second one, Uppy's one, could have went either way. I thought it was pretty harsh as well.
John Bateman also faces a nervous wait from the match review committee after being placed. A third quarter burst of 5 goals in 4 minutes has helped Carlton overcome a brave Richmond outfit by 61 points. Blues coach Michael Voss says it's just proof his side's confidence is continuing to grow at the back end of the season.
And should be building some confidence at the back end of the games that they can play that style of football if needed. We're not necessarily doing it from a negative position. We're doing it from a positive position, and we just want to keep playing with that courage and make sure we play our game strong and try and challenge opposition right to the end.
Carlton midfielder Matthew Kennedy will be sent for further assessment after hurting his knee in what looked to be a pretty innocuous incident. Former Wallabies captain Michael Hooper has brought down the curtain on a legendary rugby union career. The 32-year-old had been pushing for an Olympic berth but didn't make the cut for the 12-man squad in the Sevens heading to Paris. Hooper played 125 tests for Australia and captained the side a record 69 times. Matilda star Mackenzie Arnold is set to leave West Ham after making one of the most difficult decisions of her life. The former Irons captain arrived at Chadwell Heath 4 years ago and went on to play more than 60 games in the famous Claret and Blue. Where exactly Arnold lands next won't likely be revealed until after the Olympic Games, and that is later this month. England have pulled off a Oscar Piastri has narrowly missed out on his maiden Formula One victory at the Austrian Grand Prix, finishing less than 2 seconds behind George Russell. The Aussie capitalising on a crash between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris late in the race as the pair were fighting for the lead. Norris was unable to continue while Verstappen was given a time penalty. Stay with us. Coming up, escape the winter chill with over 1 million flights on offer. And it's time for Today, but first your local weather forecast. This is Today Early News, live on 9 and 9 now. Weather in a sec, but some good news for anyone looking for a winter getaway, with Virgin joining Qantas in launching a mid-year sale. More than 1 million flights are on offer, with one-way flights from Sydney to the Gold Coast starting at $69, while a trip from Melbourne to Uluru will set you back $119. Let's have a look at today's weather. A trough with shower cloud around is expecting from, from northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland, moving inland to the south of the Northern Territory. A high centred over the Great Australian Bight, directing an onshore flow with low-level cloud onto Tasmania and the country southeast. And a trough is approaching the southwest capes of Western Australia, and that's later this afternoon. Temperatures around the country today, starting in Brisbane, a top of 20 and a rainy day ahead. 15 the top and a shower or two in Sydney. Canberra partly cloudy and 12 degrees. A possible shower and 12 degrees in Melbourne. 14 grey skies in Adelaide today. Mostly sunny on the west coast, Perth climbing to 20 degrees, and much warmer in Darwin, a mostly fine 33 degrees.